everyone, welcome to the Vegan Stew and our last show of 2022, which is going to highlight as best as we can our 2022 for you. So let's say thank you to our December sponsor for our lives this month, which is Kathy Hester. You can follow her by seeing her website that goes through on the bottom. So you can definitely, she's amazing. And she was one of our guests this year, which is a highlight. And then if you like prizes, go to virtualvegfestlive.com, hit the contest tab, and you have 1 week left to win multiple prizes because we've given away prizes every week this month. And those prizes this month have come from Terra Seed, Hodo Foods, VegKey, Rebel Cheese, Cinnaholic, Fabulous, Bernie Wilds, Kathy Hester, Tripo Treats, and YoFit. And I don't know what's going to happen in 2023. We haven't discussed it yet, but I'm sure we'll get to it. Callie and I will get to it soon because it's, soon for the new year. So once again, if you are on YouTube or if you have a YouTube or if you like YouTube, please go there and subscribe to Virtual Veg Fest and to the Vegan Stew and help us grow our influence, I guess you could say, and reach more people because that's what we want to do. If you have any questions or comments, you know that you can join the show by putting them in the little box. And we love having questions and comments on the show. We'd love to address them. And let me bring in the Stew crew who is with us tonight. From the beginning, Ms. Marla Rose from Vegan Street.
Hey.
And we have Kelly, the Vegan Able and Climate Healers. And we have Ellen Jaffe Jones, the veg coach that you need in your life.
Look at that fancy new mic.
With the fancy new Hanukkah mic. So Shayla doesn't have a strong enough signal. She is actually an hour and a half from me in North Carolina, and she lives in Tennessee. So she's at her in-laws, and she just wrote to say that she doesn't have enough signal. And now this is a pounding headache. So you got us, which is good because two of us have been on this since the start. And then Kelly came in pretty much soon after. And Ellen gets to talk about all her time that she's had with us and the time that she's had it. And I guess we'll start with that news article that Marla had, and then we'll jump into it.
Yeah, I mean, this is kind of a rare bit of good news from so the USDA recently announced through their Food and Nutrition Service that they've proposed to add dairy-free options for all the people who are on the federal food assistance program. So that's not just non-dairy milk, it's yogurt, it's tofu, it's vegan cheese. And they are also planning to increase access to fruits, vegetables, whole grains, beans through this program. And again, this is going to reach about 6 million people. So that's significant. It takes a long time to create change in that kind of capacity. So it's going to be very good. There's so many people who are lactose intolerant and get sick from it. So, especially people of color. So this is a nod to progress,
That's great progress.
It's not always a test that will show that you're lactose intolerant. I taught cooking classes for PCRM for a long time. And, people just sometimes have an allergic reaction that doesn't show up on a test, like sinus drainage, that kind of thing. The other thing that's really interesting about this story is when I taught classes at our community center where they had aftercare and pre-care, when I would open up the freezer to store my food for the class, I would see all this leftover, can I say crap? Of course I can. From the USDA that was in the freezer.
We've said much worse here.
Surplus food that they couldn't sell, couldn't give away, and they were putting it in the school system. I mean, our kids are getting this crap.
Right.
So very cool.
Yeah, that is awful, but that is, that's pretty much what the school lunch program is.
And we're all lactose intolerant. Whether you believe it or not, we are.
Very few are genetically fine with it. Very few white people.
from Europe, where that's
And
all
there's
they had
the
in the ice
sniffling,
ages.
there's the there's the things that people just take for granted that it's just their everyday life, and that's just
Yeah.
what's normal to happen after you've eaten bread or dairy or whatever it is that you've eaten. When you have things like reactions like that,
Right.
it's probably because you have an issue with it.
Mhm.
And,
But I think it becomes so normalized, right? That and I mean, where it becomes an issue, especially with children, is like it can affect your grades if you have a stomach ache. It can affect your grades if you have brain fog. If it can affect your grades if you have behavioral issues because you don't feel well.
It
So
affects your handwriting. They've done studies about that, which is crazy.
really, what?
It affects your handwriting, fine
Oh,
motor skills.
I guess it can affect anything, right? But I like to your point, Helene. I remember with my mom, she was just always saying, I ate something wrong. I ate something bad, and just drinking Pepto-Bismol. It's like, Mom, there's just not that much food poisoning in the world. Like she just, but. And she would say, I don't really drink milk, but it's like every day you have a little in your coffee. Every day you have some ice. You know what I mean? I think people think of it like I'm not sitting there drinking a giant glass of milk. Well, who
right.
is? I mean, like
A lot of the American families with dinner.
yes,
Oh, I
but,
did. I would chug so much milk growing
oh
up. I
God,
would make myself sick, and I was lactose intolerant. So I was in a constant state of immense pain.
yeah, for sure.
I'm at like a lost for words at the moment. Because I like, oh hey, we're in a show.
Hey, how about that snowstorm?
Oh my gosh. I mean,
Wasn't
above
that bad
us.
in
I mean,
Buffalo?
Marla, how was it for you? Oh, there's the vegan streets
It wasn't
talking.
that bad. The cold was terrible, and it's going to be 50 tomorrow, which is bizarre, but whatever. This, like, it always feels like it's so overhyped these days. And I just realized that the snow that we got was like normal for a winter, and we're maybe changing mentally because of climate change, that we're like, oh my God, snowmageddon. But that was a total normal experience for the snow I grew up with. Do you know what I'm saying? It was not a big deal. And I know a lot of it is clickbait, and a lot of it's just like people just trying to get attention on their, like, oh, but like, don't you care about your reputation after you make these giant sweeping but again, there is a part of me that wonders if we have normalized to milder winters. I don't
Well, in
mind how.
Buffalo, it wasn't normal. I mean, it was
Yeah.
historic and record-breaking, and, if you watch
47 inches.
Inconvenient Truth, I think what Al Gore predicted in that movie is playing out, that there are these storms, whether it's a hurricane or a blizzard, they're more powerful, they're bigger, they're longer, and they're more destructive. So I think that is the result of human-caused climate change. That's not
Definitely hurricanes for sure.
The
Yeah,
hurricanes, snowstorms, the fires, everything is human related. And that cold was
and that's
certainly not normal for here to be 10
That's the polar
degrees.
vortex
Mhm.
that has slipped down, which again, in my research suggests that it is human caused. That's
Right.
not a normal thing that just happens.
Mhm. But don't we?
Yes,
Do
Susan.
you guys also share this feeling of? I wish it were called something other than global warming, because I think that the general human population gets confused by that. It's like, who doesn't like warm weather? Or also not connecting it to these other extreme, weather events,
Are we
that
calling
are
it
not.
climate change now? Isn't, or is it
Well,
flipped to
yeah,
global warming?
so
Isn't it climate
I think
change?
I think I've shared with you when I
I say
worked
climate
for Fish and Wildlife and helped the guys who were on the front lines enforcing the Endangered Species Act back in the day when that was a thing, and then certain presidents came along and removed that as a regulation and a law. But when I was doing media consulting and media training at their national headquarters, they were told that they had to redact from all the documents any reference that said global warming and had to be climate change, because they felt felt that they didn't want to say that humans were responsible for what was
Oh.
happening. So then that's really where climate change stepped in as an acceptable phrase.
Okay.
But because it really is, I think, more global warming that's
Right.
causing ice caps to melt, which is creating more moisture. I mean, this is inconvenient truth stuff, and it falls as a blizzard.
Sure.
The kind of the short.
Right. I mean, like, I understand that, but I think there's a disconnect
Yes,
in our
most people do not.
scientifically illiterate, society.
Right. Well, like it's snowing outside, so it can't be global warming.
Right.
That's Trump.
Exactly.
Trump
Well,
said
I mean,
stuff like
didn't
that.
the president before last say that?
Yes.
And yeah. So, ooh, I'm sorry. I hate to compose myself, but I didn't really. I have said climate change generally just because I felt like that was more encompassing of all of the things. But I see your point, Ellen, in the sense that, like, climate is always changing. You know what I mean? Like this idea that people also try to, promote. So yeah, I don't know.
I want to touch on one other thing that has absolutely nothing to do with what we do, but the fact that if you completely lie in your resume, you lose your job. Like, you don't get to keep your job, you don't get hired for your job.
Well,
And
if you're Republican, that
that's
doesn't
all
happen.
of us. That's everybody. They pretty much
No, it's
everybody.
not people like that though.
I don't care if you work a six-figure job, you're the CEO of a company, and they find out you embellished or lied completely on your resume, they will walk you out the door. They will walk you out the
I
door.
think I agree with you. That should happen, but I feel like the norms change so much with Trump that like, he called everyone's bluff. I'm not gonna, I'll release my I'm not gonna release my taxes. You make me. That kind of thing. I don't know. I just, like, I feel like I'm in a pretty cynical state of things.
Well, it's been
right,
a common
Marla.
occurrence for the past year.
What's that?
It's been a common occurrence for all of us the past year is to have some be kind of jaded in regards to either the planet, the animals, veganism, people.
I don't have much hope for humanity. I hate to say that because I was the kid who was the eternal optimist, and I feel like, I mean, like, if you scratch the surface of any cynic is the wounded optimist, but I feel like maybe we had this chance during COVID to really examine things and to really implement changes that are good for everyone over, the bigger distance of us all. But I feel like people again and again and again default to what's most convenient and what's easiest. I mean, all of us, myself included, but not when it comes to harming. So I don't know. I don't have a lot of hope. I mean, because I don't feel it's warranted.
Is that how you want to start the new year though?
Well, I mean, January 2nd, we'll see. I'm a moody bitch, I'll tell you that. But we'll see.
No, I think, Marla, you're right. I mean,
feel like, what is the point of false? I don't feel a ton of hope for it.
I think you're right. I mean, Trump really was the embellisher in chief, and he showed how you don't have to be honest. You can get away almost with murder, and nobody cares. It's like nobody's home at the end. And when you don't have a free press that can report that kind of stuff and have credibility when they do, instead of being backed into a corner as he would do with him and his minions, it just, you see like the bottom dropping out. And I also share we keep trying, we keep banging our heads against the wall and screaming and yelling.
I'm not going anywhere. You're not going anywhere, but
it's frustrating. It's very frustrating.
It is. And I just feel like, when we were presented with such a radical, extreme experience with COVID, like, what are the magic words that are going to get people to care? What are the magic images that are going to turn things around? How do we convey like this? As a society, we weren't always like this. At points in history, up until fairly recently, we have banded together for the greater good. We have made personal sacrifices for the good. It's like, it's not totally alien to humankind. I don't, I'm sure it's multifaceted why. There has been this fracturing and this, like, team this, team that, team, but we do need to get back to understanding that we are all part of this cohesive, this messy web but we all belong,
I don't think that's going to happen, though. And I mean, the fact that we're in year 3 of a pandemic, and we're still, having to close off borders now because China's even there's restrictions, and now nobody wants, anyone to travel into their country. Like, the fact that we're still doing this, and the fact that, like, the booster rates are so low, just everything. Like,
right.
I just
Other
don't
species,
see a way out.
Yeah.
For humanity, like, I don't see it.
Right.
In the best, all these, like, I just don't see it.
Other species are way smarter than we are. They will not poop where they sleep. They protect. It's. I don't. Maybe I shouldn't say anything. Sorry.
I mean, it's all valid points, and we've all said things that are jaded over the past year, that we felt jaded. We felt, we didn't feel like the human race could survive. It won't if we don't do something about, climate change or global warming, whatever you want to call it. Except that we keep speaking up and we keep doing, because bottom line is, no matter how jaded we get, no matter how upset we get, how frustrated we get, we keep speaking and we keep doing, because we have to, because I couldn't imagine stopping, but I totally understand why someone would. Because
I'm in it for a lifetime. But the one thing that does give me hope, and Naus and I have both spoken about this before, is younger people do tend to they will not put up with this bullshit, and they're soon going to be taking shit over if we can start pushing out some of these dinosaurs. So that does give me hope. But we have to be as organized and as indefatigable as the right wing, in terms of, like, getting on school boards, getting on hospital boards. Like these people, the wing nuts are getting on hospital boards and like, doing what they're doing there, what they're doing in school boards to hospitals. Like, we don't know that COVID's real. There's one hospital in Florida where this is actually going on,
Where? So I don't go there.
What's that?
Where? So I don't go there.
It was on All Things Considered the other day. I'd have to look. I want to think it was Miami, but I could be wrong about that.
Oh, that's far. That's far. Ellen doesn't have to worry about that unless she's traveling.
But the point is that, there are good things happening, but we we can't be resting on our, phoning it in,
No, can't. So 2022. Let's see. We started this in 2021, so it's over a year. At least I believe that is, because it's been, and it's funny because a year's time over the course of a lifetime is not a long time, but a year's time of going live almost every week is a long time. And we have shown how life can get in the way. And you see somebody, or you see people almost on a weekly basis, you realize just how many things can happen in all of our independent lives, and then all of our lives together. I mean, we've got deaths in the family. We have sickness. multiple everybody. Everybody's had COVID now, right?
No.
No, Kelly, you haven't been officially, like, you haven't got officially the diagnosis, but you've been sick. So
No, not COVID.
not COVID?
No.
Never tested
I don't
positive
think
yet?
my son, possibly, but he never got diagnosed. That's the
Okay.
only one. But Ray and I, we've been lucky.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and everyone I know that's been lucky, they have COVID now.
There are a
And
lot of
that's-
people getting it right now.
There's flu, COVID, RSV, strep throat. They just keep adding viruses to the list of things you can get that are like never before, like sickness. Just be careful out there. So we have all these things that have happened, and good things too. I can't remember what those things are at the moment. Well, the stew, because we've been such a negative. Sorry, we're so negative tonight. I mean, people came and went for the stew crew, and some it was great. The person's not part of the show anymore. And then, some like Kimberly was a very sad day when Kimberly had her last show, and you stopped being on Virtual Veg Fest Live altogether because of life. Not because she doesn't like us or doesn't want to be part of it. It's just, life. So those are some of the highlights of some, Dawn being gone from the show is definitely a positive. I know afterwards some things were said like, why did you let her bully you so much?
Why what?
I must have missed her.
Ellen wasn't here yet, but when Dawn was on, so afterwards it was brought up to me, like, why did you let her bully all of you so
bully.
much? Yeah. And I think it was kid gloves and tiptoeing because we don't want to get yelled at. So because that's what would happen. And even those the shows that Dawn was on were great shows. Some of our best shows were the ones that happened organically, like, hey, food in a fryer, vegan chicken. So in a shared fryer at what's the place called with the orange chicken?
Not PF Chang's. The
Panda something.
Panda Express. Yeah. Well, that it wasn't just Panda Express, it was the other one too.
It was didn't KFC have the chicken?
It was KFC's chicken that we had the big explosion show over. Go watch it. It's a great show. It was one of our best shows where
John was like,
really did disagree. And I think one of the positives is we're so aligned as a group, as a crew, that we don't tend to disagree. But when we talked about, our pet's vegan, we didn't all align with that. Not we're like hating on each other, but like previous shows. But and the shows we couldn't make it, and thanks to Kelly and me jumping in and saying, hey, we didn't make it. Sorry it didn't happen this week because we all couldn't get our shit together to be here to do this, even though, we know it's what we do weekly, but, life happens. And of course, the new people on the stew, Ellen coming on board was a huge positive. And Shayla, Dr. Shayla is awesome. And then, Coach Kayla will join us next year. And that's going to be pretty, we can officially talk about medical stuff because we'll have a registered dietitian and a doctor on the show, which we can legally talk about things when they answer.
Not just like pull stuff out of thin air.
Right. It's like, you really can believe us. And we went international because Kelly joined us. This year. I don't know when. I can't remember when this happened.
I know. I was looking at the topics and trying to figure out when I came in, and I can't remember.
I have no idea.
It feels like I was part of all of them, but I know I wasn't.
It does feel like it's something I look forward to every week, just for like, I often forget that this is transmitting to people, and it's just like our conversation, but
our Tampa Florida Voices for Animals actually has a weekly support group, and I've gone to it when it actually met in person. It's that long ago, and I kind of feel like this is that for all of us.
Right.
Right.
Well, I think that, yeah, that's so important that I think that one of the things that social media has caused us to forget is that you can disagree in ways that are still respectful of a person. You don't have to annihilate that person. You can disagree and still, believe in that person's basic dignity and basic good. You know what I mean? And I think on social media, everything's just like, I will destroy you right now with my. So I think that having conversations, disagreeing in a way that's honest but still civil, we need to be modeling that, because if we're going to be able to do these bigger things to support each other and help each other and uplift us all, we need to be able to not try to annihilate one another.
I think it's harder to do that when you're face to face with people. It's much easier to do it in the typed, faceless world.
It's so true. There was somebody had posted last night on the local vegan page. She had bought some Beyond Meat jerky, and she said I didn't really like it, and it's fine. And I just wrote, like, I had it once, it was really dry, and so I wasn't a fan, and I wasn't trashing them or anything. And this guy goes, he just like he wrote this long dissertation on the history of jerky and why jerky is supposed to be very dry, and it just was like, it's not supposed to taste like soup. I'm like, dude, I was not under the impression that jerky was supposed to taste like soup, but like, why do you have to like jump to such like bizarro conclusion? Like, why do we have to? So anyway, my whole point is just that, just modeling, being able to have conversations, disagree, agree, whatever, is healthy, and we used to be able to do that, right? Like, as human beings, with our roommates, with the people we didn't necessarily love with our whole hearts, with people we worked with, it didn't always have to be like, I'm going to destroy you.
It's that phrase, let's agree to disagree. Like,
yeah, it's real. Exactly. I have said that a few times now recently. It's just like, you've presented your argument. I've listened to it. I've presented why I disagree with it. Let's just move on. You know what I mean? Like, get the last word. That's fine. There's no point in this,
We show people that we can do that. But at the same time, what we haven't had happen since the start, we haven't had that type of lunacy in our chat, in our comments.
Oh,
which
right.
I feel like we're very fortunate that nobody's really, I mean, we've expressed many different views. We've gone political when we've had shows. We had shows this year after, people were killed. And I have a surprise for all of you. We've got Kimberly.
Hi. No kidding. What? Did you know she was coming, Helene?
Yes.
Oh my God. It's Kimberly.
Hi.
We were all just like, what?
I know. So my timing is terrible.
No, your timing is perfect. We already said now one of the sad parts of the 2022 highlights is that you're no longer with us.
Oh.
Yeah.
That's a low light. That's what we call a low light.
Oh, hi, Susan.
Yes. So we were just going over how in the comments over the course of the year, Marla was just saying how, people can be so nasty and mean, and we need to all learn how to and part of the reason we do the show is to show that we can have conversations, we can agree, we can disagree. We come back the next week, we don't hate each other. We actually we don't even have at this point, the crew is so solidified that there aren't text messages after shows about how upset someone is about somebody, which happened earlier in the year. So it doesn't happen anymore because we can not always agree, but we don't hate on one another. And that the comments have never reflected that. No matter what we've said, whatever we've said on the show, whatever our topics are, we haven't had the keyboard warriors. I mean, I guess I'll knock on wood in 2022. I guess there's still time. And then whatever happens next year. So, I mean, that's surprising actually that this goes out to so many vegan people, and we've trashed vegan people all year now, on and off. I mean, offense taken, I guess, because typically the people causing the most problems to the vegans.
Oh yeah, that's
when
true.
it comes to the vegan topics. So, but Kimberly, tell us how you are. Catch us up.
I'm doing well. Did You Bring the Hummus has season 3 coming. Next week is the first episode back. And I've got lots of really amazing people I'm interviewing, and I am super excited about that.
Yay. And work? How's work?
It's there.
Okay. Okay. How's being in the cold up in New Jersey?
Yeah, it's been, I was surprised I woke up the other morning and it was still dark out and it was 2 degrees. I don't know what made me check, but it was 2 degrees.
It's cold.
Yeah.
So freaking cold.
We got to 36.
That's cold for you
That's
guys.
really cold though.
Wow.
Yeah, it's people in Florida didn't leave their houses.
Not for a week.
I really
no
don't know
showers.
what to do.
No showers. You can turn the heat on. You still have heat.
No,
those
when you
things
get
that
out
do
of the
air conditioning
shower,
do
it's
heat.
like you
Too
turn into
cold.
an icicle.
No, I didn't take a shower for 3 straight days. I'm like, I'm not getting my hair wet. No fucking way. So, yeah, no.
That's we still showered in this house. Stephen actually turns the heat up when he showers, and I start sweating, so I have to get it back down to like 65. I'm burning up. He's freezing, and it's
That's funny.
product of going through menopause. So we haven't even really touched on. We talked about a lot of things before we even got to even starting the 2022 like wrap up or how our feelings are about the last year with the stew. But I mean, who wants to go to talk about? Marley, you want to go? You have this. What was that?
What's your question?
How do you feel about the past year with the stew? What's your highlights from the past year? I like how she's getting closer to the computer to hear me.
Oh yeah, it's Ellen's new microphone is definitely up there. There you go. I would say like one of the most interesting things for me has been sometimes when we've had topics that I don't necessarily connect with, like I'm not going to really have anything to say on that because it doesn't relate to me or whatever. Those are often the ones where I'm like pleasantly surprised at how interesting it is. But I think the biggest takeaway for me is again kind of like what we were talking about, the importance of community and like healthy communication, which includes not always happy, words back and forth, but also just the feeling that, this is kind of what family feels like. It's messy. People come in, people go out, but there's a undercurrent of trust there, and that's really important.
I think that's just such an important point, Marla. I have a woman who helps me in South Africa with my Instagram. And so she's vegan and she really, likes what I do, my brand and all that. And she does a lot of stuff, even sometimes for free. So she's very dedicated. And so I asked her what she was doing for Christmas dinner. And she said, "Oh, I'm just so dreading going to my parents' house because they always, somebody in the family, multiple people will say, 'Are you still doing that vegan shit?'" And I've had people say that to me at races that I've done. So I know that feeling, and to be able to connect with the community, I think is so important. However we do it, it's our chosen family. not necessarily our family of origin. And
Yeah.
sometimes we don't realize how much people are hurting
Mhm.
and the resistance they face. So it's really a valuable thing to have something like this where even if they don't participate, they're kind of lurking in the chat or whatever. It's a way to connect and feel validated.
Absolutely.
So, Ellen, you want to keep going? I mean, I know you're in for not that long with the Stew Crew, but what have been your highlights?
Gosh, I think just being able to participate and especially have the topics that we've talked about. And I very much appreciate including some of the 6 topics of my books that have been, especially that vegan sex one. Oh my gosh, could we talk about that again? Because that just continues to be an amazing thing. And there's just so many ways that we can find to connect with people. And I think, the whole kitchen divided concept, when you are with other people who don't do what you do, eat the way you do, and having a kind of an arsenal to deal with that, I think is really important. That's one of the things I've enjoyed talking about here. If we can kind of just muster up some tools for people to take back to the home front and, certainly continue to be on the bandwagon, but deal with those people in our lives who are maybe, the naysayers and, in your face, and just find polite ways of saying, fuck you.
Or just say that, because that's okay too. Yeah, I mean, let's go. We'll go to Kelly and we'll go to Kimberly.
Well, I mean, for me, just like having Helene ask me to be part of this just really gave me a huge boost of confidence that I really needed. I felt validated because it was at a time, and I know Marla will know because where we were really feeling disappointed in the vegan community because of what COVID brought out in a lot of people. And so finding this crew where we largely believe the same thing, but then like also having those differences, like it was a nice way to kind of bring me back to, because I was just like completely fed up. And yeah, I was looking at all the topics that we did and trying to figure out what my favorite was. And I don't really think I have one. The sex one was definitely fun, but I think we just always end up just like really being diverse yet respectful in every episode, I feel. And so I think that's what I like most, rather than like this, maybe the specific topic that we're talking about. It's that respectful dialogue that I enjoy.
Kelly, you bring up a really tough thing that happened this year. I think it really solidified is the people in our movement who separated and like just really went militant on the whole anti-vax thing. And that was very hard for me because I had some really close friends that I just was so tight with. And it's like, what are you seeing that I'm not seeing? What part of this picture? And it's like, it's almost like, it's hard enough for us as a movement to stay together where our numbers are relative to the rest of the planet so small. And then it's like, it got cut in half, exactly in half. Because like, I'm not speaking to you, I'm unfriending you. It's like, what? So yeah. So having a way to be together. I mean, even if we had people with diverse, that kind of diversity in our group, I think we could handle it. It's just like, but it's so far gone, it feels like. And that's sad.
Yeah, and I think, Ellen, you in particular have, because doing the speaking circuit and being a vegan of a certain vintage, there is this sort of, I don't want to say clique because it's not like that, but sort of the vegetarian Summerfest vegans, who are like very suspicious of medicine. Not all of them, of course, but like this kind of stuff, you know, like but very suspicious of the, you know, and
The conspiracy
so
theories. Yeah.
yeah. So, and there's a few who have, you know, basically revealed themselves to, you know, be not any better than QAnon and basically repeating QAnon type stuff. And I do think as a movement, it's really important to be honest about that as people in a, you know, social justice movement, and not pretend that it doesn't exist. So.
For me as well, it wasn't even just like the extreme beliefs that that kind of came out around it, right? Like you can believe there's flat, anti-vax, all that, like whatever. It was just how mean the vegans were. That's what really got to me more so than,
Right.
just that they believe in all that other stuff, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Right. And it's like you can't, there were people who, like one of the things that those who are against vaccines, specifically the COVID vaccine, call themselves is purebloods. And it's like, how do you not see the connection to anti-Semitism here? You're talking about the purity of your blood.
Yep.
You know, there are people who are talking about the cabal. There are people who are talking about like this shadowy. Let's just like these are all coded words. Like whether people are conscious of it or not, this is as old as time itself in terms of like it's like the meanness of that, Kelly, is like just bringing up, trying to give people the benefit of the doubt early on, no longer, but like just saying you may not be aware, but using terms like the cabal, cabal comes directly from the Kabbalah, as a dog whistle for Jews, but drawing attention to the fact that these terms, screaming about George Soros or whatever, this is
Bill Gates is implanting things in our blood,
Right. And I've seen vegans say, Bill Gates may not, be Jewish, but he sure seems like it, that kind of thing. Very scary shit, and it's like, I don't know why that would be tolerable, but anyway.
Well, for me, it was like, because we had the Freedom Convoy here for a month, right? And just seeing vegans like justifying the videos, of the people holding like anti-Semitic flags, like flags of Nazi flags or other ones that, were hate flags, by saying that they were either planted, or it was just the bad apple, and it was a primarily like this peaceful thing, and seeing vegans align themselves with the truckers. These are the truckers that try to run activists over, and you are now aligned with them.
Right. Mm-hmm.
You could have marched, and most likely did march with the person who killed Regan Russell.
Right, exactly.
Think about that as a vegan. It's disgusting.
Well, the bedfellows are disgusting. Yeah, like, I mean, Will Tuttle is, or somebody like that. I don't remember if it was him. They're sharing stuff from the founder of the Weston Price Foundation. It's like, what the fuck? Because she's anti-vax. So, like, those are the bedfellows you're choosing. These horrific human beings. But, yeah, I mean, it's like, I guess it's like the concept of the enemy is my friend. And I guess it's more important to be anti-vax than pro-vegan.
I don't know if it's so much to be anti-vax than pro-vegan, but it's more so to use the strategies, for lack of a better word, that are used by others against people who are vegan or against veganism. But when it suits you, you use those same strategies for whatever that put in the blank of whatever it is. Because some of my difficult times outside of the stew, social media wise, this year have been from people being really mean on social media. And it's, I think I've said it on here before, but there are people behind the profiles.
Right.
And they read what you write. And these are vegan people writing things that I've questioned whether they were vegan or not. And that gets them really upset
Right.
when I say, "Are you vegan?" And they're like, "Oh, how dare you even ask me if I'm vegan?" Well, because you're using the strategies, the tactics that people who are not vegan use against vegans,
Yeah.
against a vegan profile, because of a reason that you don't like what we posted.
Mhm.
Keep scrolling.
Right.
You don't need to write something every time you disagree with something.
You don't? Okay.
You don't need to write something every time you agree with it either.
Right.
You know, that's what the emojis are for. A heart, a smiley face, a thumbs up. Okay. I would actually prefer if you put just a thumbs down and you kept moving.
Yeah.
Don't waste your time. You know, I spent like an hour plus chatting with a woman from one of those profile wars that I had. And you know, I took all my energy, but I turned her around from literally
Right.
hating me
Mhm.
with everything in her body to apologizing to me.
Wow.
Because I mean it took common ground,
Mhm.
which is what we all say. It's what Gene Bauer says, find the common ground. And that's pretty much what we do on this show, right? We find the common ground. If we don't have it, we find it. But we usually do, but we find it like a little deeper. And I found common ground with her and had nothing to do with veganism. It had to do with where she grew up, which happened to be in a town on Long Island that I
Mhm.
went to often.
Mhm.
So I started naming streets. And that
So you
first
humanized yourself.
she was like,
You
"You
were
were
no
out of your
longer
mind."
right.
She was like, "How dare you? Like, what kind of crazy person are you to even talk about where I live?" And I was like, "Yo, let's calm it down." But that's what the crazy is. And like I said, I just feel fortunate that we really haven't had to deal with that on this, which I actually don't know how we haven't had to deal with that on this outside of the people on it,
Mhm.
you know. But Kimberly, tell us your highlights and your really sad part about leaving us.
My highlights are that I think what we've done with this show is that we've shown people that you can be vegan within the definition of veganism and do it completely differently than the person next to you. And I think it shows people who think that veganism is restrictive or difficult or impossible that it really isn't, and that you can be vegan and true to the parameters that are vegan while being true to yourself as well. So I think that's the most important thing. That's my highlight from the year. And yeah, I was really sad to leave, but you know, I've trying to work through this work thing so I can feel fulfilled in my day to give me the energy to do all of my vegan stuff and work on the podcast and connect with more people and put myself out there more, which I have been able to do. So I miss you guys terribly. But I am effectively using my time.
That's good.
That's really good. I mean, we're always happy for that, and you are welcome. You're welcome back anytime.
Thank you.
Whenever that is, it could be start of 2023 or some point during the year. So you're always welcome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's important to do these audits, right? And figure out, like, you know, I think it's better to really look at, you know, the nuts and bolts of, you know, how you're spending your time, how you want to spend your time, and that sort of thing. Rather than, like, so often what happens is we're so time crunched and resource crunched that we start resenting, and we don't necessarily know why we have this resentment, but it just starts, you know, coming out. And I think that you kind of, you know, left before it became like, I resent this vegan stew thing, you know?
Yeah, I definitely would never want it to get to that point for sure. Yeah.
Yeah, I kind of know if you take that month off, it's hard to come back. It's hard to put something back into your routine when you take
Right.
off for 4 or 5 weeks from it and you go to do that. It's not like every week I'm like gung ho about going live. I'm not.
Right.
every week. In some ways, I haven't been able to be here a number of weeks. We travel a lot, but you all carry the show forward, which is great. And but I really do look forward to it. Certain topics, obviously, I'm more jive for than others, even though we all pick the topics. And there's some topics I missed because I couldn't be here, which made me sad. But you all carried the torch very nicely.
What amazes me is how much there is to say about things. It's just like, wow, I thought it would be like a 10-minute conversation, but it's not, just because there's so many like that. Like in conversations, you find so much more nuance and details and experiences, and that's what's, that's really interesting.
There's never a lull in the conversation.
That's true.
There isn't, and even
I will
more
make
so.
sure of that, Ellen.
How many of us consider ourselves introverted?
Believe it or not.
Right?
Both, actually.
You're ambivert. I'm an ambivert too.
I lean towards the ambivert as well, but you have 3 people on the show that consider themselves introverted, which no one believes when we tell them, right? Nobody believes it, but we are, and which makes it sometimes harder to come and, because when you do this, you are putting yourself out there. We are out there for whatever the eternity is for YouTube and Facebook. So whatever that lasting eternity is, we are out there for that long. And there are a number of shows. This is show number 50. So that's a lot of shows for our faces to be on, for people to comment or say something about, or to watch the whole hour, because nobody ever does unless you're with us live. So thank you. And of course, we couldn't do it without people watching. We would do this, I think, anyway, but people do watch. Oh, there's the Raise an Introvert too. That's awesome. So, it's definitely it's the best. But we've had some great guests this year. April and Kathy Hester and Kelly, help me.
Jenny,
thank you. Those are the only 3 guests we've had, right?
Is that right? God, that's so weird. I think of it like every other week we have a guest. I don't know where I get that thought. Hi, Susan has been so loyal. Let's celebrate Susan.
Yeah.
She's always
Love Susan.
She's got a lot to say and passionate man. And then
Very
Ray's
supportive.
always coming in with his little funny asides. And then John comments as Vegan Street, which makes it look like I'm commenting, which is always fun. But,
Well, John sometimes comments as John, and then Stephen pops in every so often to say what he has to say. I think he's sleeping, so can't put a meal in that guy without him going to sleep. So
really, that's funny.
Yeah, he goes. I was like, "You gonna go sleep after this?" And next, he didn't say anything. Then he was like, "I'll see you in a little while." I was like, "Okay." And of course, you've all. Oh, Susan. Yeah, we love you, Susan, very much so.
Susan's awesome.
Yeah, and I guess that's part of like how we're able to do this. Obviously we have mostly shared positive things about our significant others on here, Ellen, and so well, it's recorded. So, but we all have people that support us to help us do what we do.
Yeah.
And this is just one thing that we all do. And that's important for people to know. And part of doing this is, and I say that to all of you that come on board, part of being part of this is to promote what you do outside of this, which is why the little streaming thing, the little ticker says what everybody is. And, we have in our names, like what and who we are and what we do, because we want you to support everyone outside of the Vegan Stew weekly, outside of the first Wednesday of the month, which we're still not going to do the first Wednesday of the month, even though Coach Kayla's going to be part of this. So that's, and that's for all of you that have watched us, who've joined us, who found us, who look forward to listening to whatever our conversation is that we have, because we often go off topic. We often go someplace where, you probably don't want to hear. But that's part of the charm of being live. Let me see, Susan. Okay, so Susan's been a guest. And did you bring the hummus? Oh, there we go. Susan's been a guest. Thank you, Kimberly, for posting that. Yeah, you can definitely go here, like 10 Veg Fests in a year. Yes, Susan, we've done that. So, I mean, I guess that's the stew highlights. I mean, you can go to YouTube. You can watch it on Facebook too. You go to YouTube, you can go look at all our topics. We've tackled topics like body shaming and veganuary and intersectionality and health and thriftiness, and I'm just looking at it, balancing your work and ethics and time-saving vegan tips and pride, which we took us weeks to get to pride, and it took us 3 weeks to do pride. It took us 3 weeks to actually have the conversation about pride because it was tough. There was tough times, and yeah, and I mean, National Minority Heart Month, and is your news source trustworthy? Marlo took a big lead on that one. The vegan comeback, and having support when you're going vegan, the vegan rebuttal, and of course we'd be remiss to remember Laura. I mean, I would love Laura to come back and be part of this.
I need to start harassing her. Yes,
we should probably all harass her a little bit because hopefully life will calm down enough that this is something she could put back into it.
And Sangeeta, don't forget Sangeeta.
Yeah, Sangeeta. Sangeeta's, I think, in Australia right now. So other side of the world with the new, which is fantastic. Sangeeta actually really loves to travel. Really loves to travel. And so I mean, thank you for when I brought this idea to you, especially Marla, because the first person I really brought this idea to was Marla. And I said, hey, this is something you might want to do. And we kind of just, we had other people involved that never even made it to live shows, right? So Brittany and Carrie never made it to live shows. They felt that it was too much of a commitment to do this. And it is a commitment. So thank you for making that commitment with us. What was that?
I have a question.
Yeah.
What would you guys like to see in the stew in 2023? Going forward. Helene, how about you? What would you like to see more of, less of, directions, that sort of thing?
We still have a number of topics that we haven't touched. So, and we'll keep adding to those. It's amazing that we keep a list so everyone knows. We try not to repeat ourselves. And following the flow of what's actually happening, which I think we do really well, is we're not strict. I want to keep it so we're not strict with how we communicate or what we're going to communicate on. And we keep, I'm all about organic because, as much as Kimberly prepares for everything, I don't prepare for anything. I only looked at our previous shows 5 minutes before we started this one. So, which is pretty much how I do produce festivals. I do spend more time on them. So, but thank you. Right?
Just open the door.
Beyond food. Yeah. So, I mean, I like it the way it is. I like what I love actually how we've all come together, and we don't even use our utensils anymore. I think we don't use our utensils anymore, and we just let everyone see us for how and what we feel. And that's what I've asked of everyone too when you come on here, is to be you. It's very important to be you, because I don't want you to hide yourself because you don't agree with something. The point of this is to not agree and then see where that goes. So
exactly.
I just keep that going, and for Kimberly to come back. So
no
I feel so loved.
But she already knows that. She already knows how I feel.
Kelly, how about you? What would you like to see in the new year?
I was just going to address Ray's comment, the importance of community building to the vegan movement. I think that's what we're doing here. I mean, if you look, everyone is doing their own thing, right? So I think, hopefully we're setting a good example of that. And yeah, I hope that grows, that, community building there. I mean, for me, I always love a good risque topic. So, I don't mind pushing the boundaries even more if we wanted to. Yeah.
Ellen's queuing up.
Yeah.
That's awesome. I love it. Thank you, Kelly. How about you, Ellen Jeffy Jones?
So as a media consultant, we would talk to clients about how to get media attention. And one of the, we talk about the 10 C's, and I can't remember them all, but crisis, conflict, catastrophe, all of these things are what generates engagement and people responding. I don't know how much we really want to do all that, but I guess my request would be we just, like every show, and I pretty much bring it up. Can we please talk about the environment again? Because that is, I think, as a planet is what is going to bring us down. And maybe when it's NIMBY, not in my backyard, when it is, maybe people will start getting super narcissistic and think about cleaning up their act, or maybe the price of food will just be so expensive, as I like to say, you're going to have no choice but to eat vegan. And just be continuing to be the voice for the voiceless, because really that is what a lot of this is about, maybe most of it.
Absolutely. So Kimberly, I know you're a alumnus of our school, but still you might have some views on what you'd like to see beyond yourself in this little square or rectangle, what you'd like to see in or of the stew in the year ahead.
I don't know that I would change anything. I think that, there is a good rhythm, a good flow, and, the topics are always important. And I think every conversation has the opportunity to plant more seeds and get people to start making significant changes in their lives that make a significant change in the environment, for the animals, the world around us as a whole. So keep doing what you're doing. And, it's just amazing. And I love it.
That's awesome. Well, we are looking forward to you coming back. And I just want to repeat, Ray said some subjects that would be good. Vegan culture beyond food, super important. The importance of community building to the vegan movement, which is beyond that, it's so beyond important. I can't emphasize it enough. And Susan Francis said, how about what non-food products help make a difference for the environment, which is fabulous.
I'm tasking all of you to remember that so that we can put it on our list next week when we meet. So, Marla, what about you?
Oh, I didn't even think about that. I think, beyond Kimberly being back, maybe Laura, just deepen the relationships, deepen the depth of conversations, and really looking forward to getting to know our two new people better. And just, again, I would like for this to become a place where people go every week to engage in conversation. So that would be my goal.
That's also one of the best ways to do that. We put our social media caps on, share it on your social media, letting people know to come and like and subscribe. That would be amazing.
Yes,
yeah. So everybody's got their social media spheres. Put it out there. Bring them in. Draw them in, because that's one of the best ways. And then we might actually get more people hating on us. But if we get people hating on us, we know we're doing the right thing.
That's true.
we've done our job.
That's what I keep telling
Yep.
these trolls. I'm like, you guys are not realizing what a job you're doing for Vegan Street, right? We don't have to put any money into boosting our stuff because you guys are doing it. Thank you. You know, so
Bacon.
Yeah, so what?
Bacon.
Bacon?
mhm.
Maybe.
Bacon.
Trying to put in the algorithm thing there.
You probably want to type it in the comments.
What happened?
Oh, here we go. Ellen's gonna type bacon in the comments.
Bacon.
Just
Seriously,
the algorithm
we
of
get
like
people.
bacon.
We get people who say this. I just
Are you
posted.
typing?
Oh wait. Hang on. It didn't. They literally say this. I mean, what can I do with that? It's just, that's the mentality.
Need more words? Need more letters?
Even a 2-syllable word might, I don't know. But yeah. But seriously, that's
Oh, that's really funny.
It's like that episode in The Office when Kevin decides that he's going to save time by saying less words. And he's sitting in Michael's office and he says, SeaWorld. Jim is like, are you going to SeaWorld or do you want to see the world? Yeah, SeaWorld.
Oh, Kevin.
Is that SEE or SEA?
Right.
How do you spell those two words? Because it could be
It makes a big
WHIRLED. See, that's another reason why I want Kimberly back. All right,
Yeah.
so
Love you.
no pressure. I'm glad it wasn't just me putting the pressure on Kimberly. But again, thank you for taking a chance on doing this and being part of 2022, and of course for everyone who's part of 2021, because I can't remember when Kelly started, so it might have been last year, I don't know, so we don't know. But and I mean, Kimberly was definitely 2021, but we will move forward. We'll keep doing this. I honestly, there were parts of me that thought maybe this wouldn't continue, as we were kind of like, it was hard, like over November, early December, like that period, the fall period, it was much harder for all of us to get our shit together and be here on Wednesday. And part of me was thinking, do I need to have that conversation of maybe this is it. This is swan song, this will be over and we won't do this anymore. But clearly you've re-energized me. I mean, I didn't obviously have the conversation with any of you, but let's do it. Let's keep doing it. Let's grow it. It's trademarked. The vegan stew is now trademarked. So it's an addiction. That's what we need this to be. You need it to be your addiction. You come. I mean, that's what podcasts are to people, right? For the, did you bring the hummus and everyone else who has shows and stuff? You want it to be a weekly thing that people go, okay, it's Wednesday, or I watch this wherever you watch it, because you can replay. So hashtag replay if you are and you're commenting, so it's on the replay. But that's what Coach Kayla will say when she goes live. But thank you. Really, thank you. Thank you for being who you are. Thank you for being part of this. Thank you for everyone who watches. And have a very safe and happy new year, whatever you do. I bet the introverts are all staying home. So, right, exactly. So I bet Ellen's partying. Everyone else is staying home. So, all right. So I'm gonna.
Happy New Year.
There we go.
And to you, and you.
New Year, everyone. Thank you, Susan. All right. Thanks, Marla. Thanks, Kelly. Thanks, Ellen and Kimberly. You work on that, okay? You work on that because really, I think the love. And we didn't cry, so that's a really good thing.
Yeah,
yet. There we go. All right, so thank you so much for being part of our last show of 2022 of the Vegan Stew. And clearly, we're going to keep going in 2023. And we got some great topic ideas, and let's grow this. We want to get into everybody's households where you can turn us on and you can learn what's going on in the world, about the environment, about the animals, about health, and listen to what comes from our brains out of our mouths. It's not always perfect, but it is important because we said it. And I say that for all of them because everybody matters and what they feel matters too. And that goes for you as well. So wishing you a happy new year. Get into our contest, virtualvegfestlive, .com for the last week, last few days actually, 2 more prizes to give away. And that's very easy. Then we'll let you know what's going to happen next year. Thanks to Kathy Huster for sponsoring Virtual Veg Fest Live this month. We love her. She was part of the show. You can go see that on YouTube. Subscribe and hit the notification button on YouTube so you're aware when we go live. You just never know. And I've been doing YouTube shorts, so you can go look at those on Virtual Veg Fest as well. Have a great one. Be safe, be happy, and we'll see you soon. Bye. See you next year, actually. Bye.